Hi, it's Matt from Krank Engineering, and in this video I want to talk about measuring tools. And when you're working on any particular job on your bike or a fab job for your bike, there's two things I like to consider about measuring tools, and they are accuracy and repeatability. So accuracy is obviously, if I'm measuring something that's 50 millimeters long, how accurately does it measure 50 millimeters? And repeatability is, if I measure it 5 times, do I get the same result every time? So there's different measuring tools for different jobs, so let's talk about a few of them. So some of the most basic tools that most people have around there in their toolbox would be just regular measuring tapes. I've got a collection of them, here's a couple of them. 16 foot, 5 metre, 8 metre, 26 foot and 8 metre. Now some of these are dual scale, so we've got inches on one scale and millimetres on the other. Both of these are the same in terms of the scales, and this particular one is just metric. Normally I find that I'll need to measure either metric or imperial, and the tape measure will be the wrong way around and I'll have the wrong scale showing, so I tend to use this metric one just about all the time. Now on a tape measure, all of these, you'll think, oh, these end stops are all a bit loose, but they're actually like that for a reason, and that's so that you can measure inside and push it up against the tape, and that'll give you the correct measurement there. Or you can hook the end over an object and still measure the same distance too. So it just accounts for that millimetre or so where you need to do that, which is the thickness of this end hook here. So they're all like that. Now you can, this one's in pretty ratty condition obviously. It looks like it's got a bit of rust on it. So normally just a bit of WD-40 on a rag and you can clean all the dirt and grit and grime and everything off the tapes, and they work a whole lot better. So yeah, generally you get what you pay for. Barco's a good Swedish brand. These are Stanleys. So these will last a long time. You can see they get a bit of wear, and the marks on the tape start to wear off. So you know, they get to a point where they're not really usable anymore. But you know, they last years and years if you look after them. Made in the USA. You don't get too many more of these like this. So that's a Lufkin. Alright, so that's for basic measuring. You know, big bits of steel or lumber or timber, whatever you're working on. When you get into motorbike stuff, you probably use a different tool. So the other one to consider is just steel rules, which you can pick up at any tool store. In fact, these ones came from a Kmart, I think, and they were 99 cents. I think I bought 10, and I've got one in just about every toolbox and hang on every wall around the place. So most of these are dual scale, so they've got millimetres on one side, inches on the other. Same, millimetres and inches, so they're 12 inch or 30 centimetres, 300 millimetre rules. These are 6 inch or 150 millimetre rules. If you look closer, I don't know how well this will come out in the video, you know, the scales on the inch side are generally broken up into 32nds, 64ths, 16ths, 20ths of an inch, 50ths of an inch, 10ths of an inch. So there's different scales there for different purposes. And the metric side is in half millimetres on the top here and just millimetres on the bottom. This cheap one's only millimetres, and on the imperial side, 20ths, 50ths, 10ths, and so on. I've got these two out here. You really got to look after these little guys. These ones are stainless steel, so they're pretty good condition, pretty good quality. These are Japanese ones, but eventually, I'm not sure how well this comes up on the video, but once the corners and the ends start to wear, you're really not going to measure accurately if you're up against an edge. So you don't look after them, they wear out a bit. Really this one really isn't much good anymore because I can't butt the end up against something to measure it. So, rubbish bin. What else do we have in the toolbox? Measuring angles, just a standard stainless steel protractor. This is an American made one, so it's a pretty good one. I think I bought it when I was in the US on a trip. But just like a normal protractor you would have used at high school or for maths at school, just lets you measure out angles like that, so I use that quite a bit. The other thing that you can get really cheaply these days is just a standard set of digital calipers. These are 150 millimetre ones. These are cheap as anything. These are 20 bucks. These are from Aldi. I've got about 4 of these in different toolboxes and things. I've replaced the battery on just about all of them. But surprisingly, they are quite accurate, and I'll talk about that in just a second. So 150 millimetre caliper. So there's a digital one. Here's one that's just got a vernier scale, and I won't talk about running vernier scales today because most people will probably use a digital one. Here's an older one that's got a dial on it. This is a Micrometer, so it's a good Japanese one. So let's just talk about the digital caliper just for a minute. So again, this is a cheap one, 20 bucks. but surprisingly it does the job. So you just replace the battery from that little guy there, covers it up. So let's talk about how you might use one of these things. So again, this is a precision measuring tool, so you need to look after it. So try not to drop it or bend it or use it, you know, as a pry bar or anything else. It's there for measuring stuff. So very simple. There's a locking screw on the top that'll lock it down in a particular position. So loosen that off first. First thing I normally do is make sure that the jaws are clean. So just with a finger, wipe the jaws. That's for measuring on the outside of something. And these ones are for measuring inside. So just give them a wipe with your finger. You can use a rag if you like, but finger works good. Then close it, just gently, okay, and zero it. So back to zero. And then we pick the object that we want to measure. And I'm going to grab a calibration standard out of one of my micrometers, and I'll talk about those in a second. And this guy here is 50 millimeters plus or minus 0 microns at 20 degrees. Obviously metal expands and contracts with temperature. So at 20 degrees, this thing will be 50 millimeters plus or minus 0 microns, which is really, really accurate. So to use it, use the thumb wheel and wind it out to where you've got to go. So I've gone out, this one's way on the piss. So look at that. So the scale's gone haywire. This guy, rubbish bin. Let's get another one. This is a Moore and Wright, which is one of my better ones, which I tend to use all the time. Okay, same deal. So I'm going to clean the jaws, close it up. It's already zeroed. So inches and millimeters. So I can switch between inches and millimeters. So we'll leave it on millimeters because this is 50 millimeters. All right. So I'm going to wind it out with the thumb wheel. So there's 53 millimeters, and then I'm going to use these parts of the jaws down here, the knife edge I call them. And I'm just going to gently, with the thumb wheel, close it up on that. And look at that, 50 exactly. No surprises there. So it's about 20 degrees outside, so that's about right. Okay, so you know, I talked about accuracy. So accuracy on this particular set is really good. So 50.01. I'm going to make sure these are clean as well. And our repeatability, like I said earlier, is if I measure it 5 times, what am I going to get? 50.03, 50.01, 50.04, 2. Okay. Now obviously the harder you press here, you can make this thing deflect and it'll measure anything you want. So you just take a bit of feel to do it properly. So I'll talk about feel a bit in a second when we talk about micrometers. So yeah, very handy. If you see these on special at Aldi or any other tool store for 20 bucks, go and get one. You use it for everything. So you can measure outsides, you can measure insides, and you can measure depth with this guy on the end here. You stick it in a hole until it hits the bottom, and then you read off the scale what the depth is. So use them all the time. If you find them cheap, go buy 1 or 2 or however many you think you need. Okay, so that'll be the majority of tools you'll find in an average toolbox. You know, when you start to do some more specialised work, you might need something else. You might need some more advanced tools. So I'll just quickly talk about micrometers. And here's a Micrometer 0 to 25 millimeter or 0 to 1 inch micrometer. This is one of my favourites, this little guy here. All my mics come off eBay. I buy them second hand. I only buy good ones. They are very expensive. I've probably got $1,000 worth of micrometers in different sizes, but they are a precision measuring tool, and they always stay in their cases when I'm not using them. So this particular one has got the dial scale as well as it's digital. So I use this quite a lot because I can quickly switch between millimeters and inches, and because my lathe is imperial, I measure off in the scales in inches or thousandths of an inch, and then I need to often convert to millimeters, so I can quickly do that with the button. So that's inches to 5 decimal places, which is really accurate, and that's millimeters to 3 decimal places. So same deal here, right? So these all should close down with the 0 on the 0 mark. This one's slightly out, so it's a job that you have to do occasionally to adjust these dials and calibrate them. But there's a little clutch wheel on the end here, and this is what you typically use to close them. So you close it down on the object and you hear the click with the clutch letting go. You don't need to wrench down on these really hard because again you will deflect the whole horseshoe shape here and you won't measure accurately. So you just need to use the thumb wheel on the end and click it with the clutch. So the idea is, I'll find a 25mm calibration. I'll use a big one actually. I've got a 50mm calibration standard here, and so same idea. Just close it down gently on the object. Either read off if it's a digital one, or you need to read off the scale on the vernier scale if it's a manually read one, and I'll cover that in just a second. So again, so this is 0 to 25. They generally come in increments of 25mm. So there's 0 to 25. 25 to 50, and again this one's basically brand new. Again, I bought it off eBay. You don't have to pay full price, you can get them on eBay occasionally. 50 to 75, again another one just basically brand new. This one's got a not a digital, well it's a digital readout, but it works off the ratcheting action in the scale. So bit different, but hey, pretty handy. You can read straight off that. So you know, some of these have different features, and again, Japanese quality, Toyo, good stuff. So let's quickly talk about how you might use this guy. So this is the calibration scale out of this particular tool. So I'm going to just take this out past 50, 51.1. You know, sometimes you need 3 hands to do this job properly. So you might have that. Hopefully it's on a part that's stable on your bench and you can measure it. So I'm just going to hold it there, and I'm going to gently turn that down. Okay, so I've got 50.0 halfway between 2 and 3. So I should check that these are clean. Any piece of dust is going to get measured in there as well. And again, use 3 hands. Whatever you do, don't drop these guys. Okay, 50.02. So, you know, if this calibration scale is 50 exactly, I need to adjust this micrometer so that it reads 50 when I'm doing that. So generally you do that when you're using the micrometer. I'm not going to worry about doing it now. This little screw here is for locking it down. So if you had to measure something and hold the measurement, so if you didn't bump this or turn it inadvertently, you can just lock it down with the little screw here. So handy feature as well. Okay, so that's and I've got these all the way up to you know, 150 mil, 75 to 100, and so on. So that's these are probably more specialised tools you might be using if you were building engines, for example. You might be measuring pistons or something with these. A couple of the other types of measuring tools you might come across. Again, specialised tools, inside micrometer. So this guy is for measuring inside a hole or inside a bore. This is a 50mm, so 50 to 63 here. And the idea here is I take this cap off, and if I need to measure something deeper, so this is 50mm, if I need to measure 150, I put on the 100mm extension, screw that on, put the cap on here, put that in the bore, screw it out to where it fits the bore, and I can read off the scale. So that's an inside micrometer. Again, eBay job. The other way to measure inside a bore is with telescoping gauges. So here's a set of telescoping gauges in various sizes. So 8 to 12.7 and so on, up until the size of the bore you might have. Generally you'd be using these for measuring cylinder bores, or brake cylinder bores for something like that, or a master cylinder, whatever it might be on a car or a bike. So again, you just take one of these guys out, this one that fits the bore you're measuring. It has a lock on the end, so you need to squeeze these guys in a little bit, lock them down, put it in the hole, unlock it, and that'll open up to the size of the hole. Lock it down, take it out, and then measure it with a micrometer. Generally use a micrometer, so measure it with a micrometer. Okay, telescoping gauges for inside bores, and the only other specialty tool that I've got, this is a depth micrometer. So 0 to 6 inch depth micrometer. This is a Starrett, it's an American one. So this reads in inches. But the general idea is this sits on the surface and this sits in the bottom of a hole, and it lets you very accurately measure the depth of any given hole, and then you just screw it into the depth of the hole and read off the scale. So again, specialty tool for specialty job, probably not something you'll see on a regular basis, but you know, these are some of the things that you can collect over time via eBay. Thank God for eBay. So that's it for measuring tools. Just a really quick overview, and if you've got any questions or comments, please put them in the section below the video. Thank you. Cheers.